But big news, I signed up for my first ever marathon. 9 weeks now until my first ever Ironman Italy, and I thought I'd do some better planning for the next block of training. Legs feel pretty beaten up this morning after yesterday's ride, but it felt like a good week of training. I did just under 15 hours. And going into this one, I need to pick up the slack on a couple of things where I've not been doing so well. So like the strength training has not been great and the swimming has not been great. Alright, time for Monday's base run, and as usual, the Garmin is telling me to rest. That's today's suggestion. Literally the last 5 or so days, every time I've gone to do a workout, it will tell me to rest, or if it's like a bike workout, it will tell me to do base, like a recovery spin or easy spin or something like that. But we're gonna run, we're gonna see how the legs feel. Felt like a touch easier than last week. It was further than last week, and I think my average heart rate is lower than last week as well, so that's got to be a good sign. The other good thing is, because I've done it today, like quite early on and stuff, all in one, hopefully it gives me more recovery time for tomorrow, the interval session tomorrow, and hopefully I can get PBs on that as well. And the other benefit is obviously this weekend, or last weekend, I didn't run yesterday, didn't run on the Sunday. The week before I did a brick session, so I ended up doing like 12k or something off the bike. I should be going into this week like a bit fresher and going into that interval session tomorrow a bit fresher. I'm gonna add some strides into the warm up of this one because it always feels quite difficult doing the hard intervals like early on a Tuesday morning. I feel like I should be more rested up and recovered today, but I don't feel it really, to be honest. It's gonna be the last time I do this particular workout, and I think I'm gonna try and just beat what I did last time. I was thinking about doing jogging recoveries instead, but I think I'm just gonna do it exactly like for like, so it's more comparable and I can see how I'm doing, and then next week I'm gonna completely change this one up. Second one, 3:47, and I had to finish a little bit uphill. So I almost stopped like a little bit early. 3, 2, 1. .344 that one. One more to get. This is looking much faster than that side. 3:25, not the one. Done, last one. 3:49, super happy with that. Well, that was seriously good. The whole workout was like much quicker than last time. Actually on Strava it comes up now as matched runs, so it compares it to a similar run, which obviously was last week. So I've got, or the last few weeks, I've got 3 matched runs. It says trending faster. This run on average was 5:07 pace. Last time it was 5:13. I actually got a sub 24 minute 5k within that, considering there was like a static 1 minute 30 rest that's in between the intervals. It's quite kind of surprising. So last time I got a 3:53, 3:51, 3:52, 3:53, so that probably averages like 3:52, let us say. And then this time around, the first one was 3:44, second one was 3:47, then 3:45, then 3:48. Super nice really, in and amongst all the endurance based stuff, to do some speed stuff, although it feels horrible and it almost feels like quite polarized because everything else I do is really slow, and then this feels extremely fast and difficult. But it's nice to have that kind of like benchmark, so it doesn't feel like I'm just getting slow all the time. So I've jumped on this bike for this Zone 2 recovery spin after doing that interval run this morning. Last week I did do this workout, but I had a much bigger gap, so I did it like later in the afternoon. This is like a couple hours after the intervals, and I tell you what, it feels so much harder just doing the warm-up. It goes into threshold a little bit to get you nice and warm. 260 watts felt really difficult, so those intervals definitely hit home. this morning. Just about to hit the midweek sort of long ride, and now I've got my FTP set up. This is what the workout looks like on Zwift. So I've programmed it in Training Peaks and it comes through to Zwift for me. And obviously it's based off of my new FTP, which I got last week, which is 272 watts. So now this should actually be a pretty challenging workout. There's actually like a 20-minute warm-up and then some primer blocks that go above the sweet spot intervals that I'm going to be doing, which is really nice to get above that and get that feel for the legs, and then drop back down to the sweet spot stuff, obviously longer duration. I desperately need to sort out my TT bars. On the weekend, on the ride on Sunday, somehow over the ride my TT kind of bars have just slipped out of position. You can see that left one, it's like super wonky. Block of 3 at 210 watts. Now I've got the 6 minutes recovery. Felt just right, to be honest. Like at the point where I felt, yeah, this is quite tough. My heart rate didn't go too high, but it felt difficult but sustainable. 2 more to go. I'm gonna have a gel now. So I always think it's best to take on carbs or eat or drink during like little down periods that you might have, like out on the road where you're going a bit easier, or you're going downhill, or like this on the turbo trainer where I'm spinning a bit easier, has less power, because it's just going to be easier to physically do it and also easier to consume and digest the carbohydrates. You know, if you're putting out max effort and you're trying to have carbs at the same time, you got more chance of it coming back up. If you think about it logically, you got more blood flow going to the working muscles and less to the stomach when you're working harder. That's it, done that session. Wednesday bike, it ticked off. It was about it was an hour and 40 minutes. I need to get ready, get to work now, and then I'm doing a swim this evening with the Tri Club, which will be awesome. And yeah, got some big plans coming up, I think, with the training in general, with swimming, the running, some big weeks of training coming up for sure. Deadlifts on the menu now, just like I have for the last couple of weeks, but my back's not feeling great, so I've kind of missed them and skipped them, but it's actually finally feeling a little bit better. I think like spending a lot of time on the bike and a lot of time in like TT position and running and stuff, and with all the driving, it's just like the lower back's just been sore and achy, but it kind of feels okay today, but I don't want to push it too much. So I'm doing deadlifts. I spent a little bit more time like warming up and things today, just to make sure everything's fine and I can get some earlier warning signs if it's not feeling great. What I thought I would do, I've gone completely off piece in terms of what the actual rep scheme was, but I'm just playing around with some different weights, and I've done some like speed work, speed reps, some power. The good thing about that is like you can keep the weight quite low, like relatively, but you can still recruit like a lot of muscle fibers and a lot of muscle tissue by moving quite powerfully, and hopefully that way like I can kind of like get those muscles in the back activated, supporting my lower back and supporting everything else that I'm doing. So that's why I've kind of gone for those, and then I'm slowly building up to like a little bit heavier just to get some load in there and get some strength in there. It felt good, felt strong, felt good to do, and gives me a bit of like confidence again in the lower back that I can do them and I can start to build up the weight again. So at 7 o'clock I'm off to Tri Club swimming tonight, which is awesome because I know I need to work on that and get that in the bag. But big news, I signed up for my first ever marathon earlier. So it's in London on the 9th of August. It's called the Thames Meander. It should be fairly flat. I don't know how big an event it is, but route wise it should be fairly flat. And that's going to be my first ever marathon, and I feel like I need to take that off before I do my first ever marathon in an Ironman. I don't think that's the wisest thing to do. That's the swim done. It wasn't so bad. Did 1,650 meters, mostly drills, but we did quite a lot of like 200 meter sets and stuff, which was useful because it meant that I could actually spend some time like going through them and actually practicing the drills. Sometimes I find that it's like a bit too bitty, so if you're doing like 50 meters or 100 meters, I'm almost like stopping too often, it feels like, for me to actually get into like a good rhythm. 100 different things that all contribute to like a really good stroke. There's no like silver bullet where it's just like you change one thing and then it makes a big difference. But I was finding tonight that I was working on like rotation in the water, and it was getting better and it's feeling better in some instances, and then suddenly you realize it's also having like a knock-on effect on where your arms are, for example. We've hit a bit of an issue for today's run. So this morning I got everything ready, got my gels ready, got headphones ready, got change of clothes ready and stuff, and I was going to do the run from work in between like my working day, basically around lunchtime. And I kind of got there and realized that I didn't have my running shoes. So I had everything with me minus the running shoes, and I can't get the running this evening. So I actually, luckily enough, had like an appointment cancel. So I kind of had enough time to come back home, get the running shoes, and I was just going to run round home, and there's like a hilly route that I can do here. But I've got back home, and the second issue that I run into is I realized I don't have my key, my house key, because I left it with the oven cleaner who came around this morning. Turns out anyway, the oven cleaner is a bit of an Ironman triathlete, so that was quite interesting speaking to him. He's sort of saying I need to be up running like out on the weekend, long runs up to like 30Ks at least before I do Ironman Italy. And he basically saying it's all about like how much you put in is kind of how much you get out. You can just do it off like a more of a minimal schedule and just get round and complete it, or you can try and go for, you know, what's more competitive or a good time for you. And that's kind of what I want to be aiming for. It's like trying to aim for a good time for me, and I feel like I've done a good amount of training, and like it's not the peak of where I could be, but it is, you know, I'm trying for it as opposed to just rocking up. The other thing with just rocking up and doing like minimal training is the suffering is going to be so much worse, and generally my fitness and health is going to be so much worse. So, you know, the effort that I do put in now, it will pay dividends, and it's probably worth it more than just for the time, the actual time result as well. So that was interesting. Good to speak to him, but I have this issue where I don't know if I can get this run in today. Right, I got the running shoes now. I managed to get a key off Emily, come home, got the running shoes on. Now I'm good to go. I've lost loads of time in the process of doing that. We've made it. It's interesting because there's often times where I would have completely just sacked off this run because of like not being able to fit the planned session in. But something's always better than nothing, and sometimes you have to modify. And that's cool. So it's not perfect, but at least it keeps the running habit alive, keeps me moving in the right direction generally, and also gives me an opportunity to try something a bit different, doing the hill walk, and then maybe implement that into the program over the next few weeks. I'm not sure if I said it was a nice hill or not, but this is it. I don't know how I can see it on the camera. It's up that cliff. So it's taken me, well, almost be 5k by the time I reach the bottom of it. To get here, nice easy pace. I think I'll probably do like 3 repeats. know where to start and stop, but that felt about right. Whew. That's 2 done. The first one I just went straight into it from the run here, and there's a bit of a climb up towards the bottom of it. That was much slower. That time, walked all the way back down, and by the bottom of it I felt like I recovered quite a lot to walk back down. Only thing is, there's a bunch of guys here plainly smoking something smelly, and then also there's like a couple of families sat on the benches that I'm running right past, eating pasties and stuff. I feel a little bit out of place. So we got the run done. I had to jump straight into a meeting, so I'm still even wearing the same top that I wore for the run. We did 11.5k, average pace was 5:47 per kilometre, so much slower than I have been running recently, but obviously we had the hill repeats in there. We did 3 of them as kind of like separate splits. They were like 210 metres by the looks of it, all done in about a minute, and then it took about 2 minutes to walk back down the hill. My pace on the way back home was just much slower after having done the repeat, so it just shows how much the hill reps like sap it out of my legs. It is Friday morning, and the good news, everyone, is I've been for a swim, which is always a good thing. I stayed up and watched the football last night, and so I ended up waking up like much later than I planned to, and I was like, well, I don't really have much time to go for a swim, but I ended up like just getting my things together and going anyway. I just jumped in there and I just swam like a continuous kind of effort. I did 1500 meters and I think it was about 35 minutes, so just over, I think it was like 2 minutes and 16 per 100 meters, which is like, it is slow. It is slow, but it felt quite good just to get like that amount done in that amount of time, if that makes sense. So I built up a bit to around, it's still a massive struggle, but I built up to around 50k of running a week, 200k of cycling a week, and only probably about 2k of swimming per week. And that's kind of what I've got up to recently. I've not been doing that for very long, and they're kind of like the last few kind of peak weeks that I've had. Now, being 9 weeks out, I feel like I need to get like a little bit more specific in terms of the sessions rather than just doing like volume. So I've just been focusing on mileage, I haven't been focusing on specific thresholds or heart rates or anything like that. So I've sat down and I'm doing my training peaks program for the next block. A couple of things that haven't been going so well is 1, the swimming, and 2, the strength side of things. I've actually missed quite a lot of strength training. I've really struggled to particularly fit like the legs, the lower body sessions in. Just wherever I've put it, I feel like I'm impacting like the following day, and at the moment like I'm prioritizing like the running and I'm prioritizing the cycling, for example. But here's what I'm going to do going forwards. So on Monday we're going to do a base run, so this could be like 8 to 12k, nice and easy, nice and steady, aerobic. That just gets some mileage in, good start to the week, and kind of like recovery after like the weekend. And then also strength, so upper body session on Monday, and possibly tri-club swim as well on Monday. So the Monday and the Wednesday swim, they might be interchangeable depending on what I've got to do with the kids and the drop-offs and that sort of thing. But yeah, that's Monday. Then Tuesday we go into hard run. So this is like a key speed building session. So this is a quality interval session. And I've been doing, this is the only one quality or intensity session I've been doing. So I've kept that in there on a Tuesday. I've just increased it like a little bit. So I'm going to start with basically 2 1k efforts, then 2 800 meter efforts, then 2 400 meter efforts. It's going to be about 50 minutes, about 10k's worth, and I'm kind of like building pace through that. So it gives me a good range to do some speed work, across 1k down to 400 meters. And then also I'm going to do my strength session, lower body session on this day. I figured because I've already done hard intervals and hard running, my legs are kind of already fried, and because of that, my Wednesday, the next day, I'm just doing an easy ride. So it makes sense almost to chunk the two hard things together, so like the hard run and the lower body strength. Then on Wednesday we have like an endurance or recovery ride. So I've put this in as like 2 hours, and it's just going to be low steady state aerobic zone 2, depending on how I'm feeling. Hopefully I can get that to be around 2 hours. And then Thursday, this is the one that I'm kind of playing around with a little bit. I have just been doing like a medium to long run on a Thursday, but I've got two options. I'm either I want to put some hills in with that run, or I want to do it as a brick session to add in some more bike, and then to actually have a brick session in my week and scheduled in the week, because I haven't really had that so far. So I'm getting a little bit more specific in the sense that we're doing brick sessions, so running straight after the bike. So what I've put in so far is it's like 2 hours and 50 minutes on the bike. It's a progressive brick ride, so it starts off super easy, zone 1, zone 2 for some time, and then builds into like race pace type efforts. And then we go into basically like a 1 hour hilly run, like 11k off the bike. I'm not sure whether I'm going to either alternate it, so 1 week we'll do a brick session, and the next week we'll do a lot longer hilly run, then we'll go back to a brick session, then we'll go back to a long hilly run. I'm not sure if I'm going to alternate it or if I'm going to try and do the brick and the hilly together, if that kind of makes sense. I don't know if that's going to be too much or not. Then Friday is kind of like recovery day, so that should be fine. So we've got strength upper body. I'm going to do an endurance swim on Friday, so nice and easy, zone 2, and a recovery bike. So you've almost got like easy day Monday, Tuesday's a hard day, easy day Wednesday, Thursday's a hard day, Friday's like an easy day, and then Saturday I'm going to try and add a swim in. So this is one thing that I've had a bit of a downfall of. I'm going to add an additional swim in here, and hopefully I'm able to do that, and I've put it in as like reps. So I'm going to do speed drills, threshold stuff, just to break it up and make it kind of like less boring. And then long run on Saturday, starting off with 20k at the moment, and slowly going to build that up to closer to 30k, 35k possibly. And then Sunday, long ride, and I've also put a run off. So I kind of want to do a bit more brick stuff because it's like a bit more specific and I can see it paying off a lot. But I'm just literally going to do like a 15-minute run off of the bike. That gives me like a little bit extra run mileage, but it also just gets me to practice that transition. And if I'm hot, sweaty, and I've just finished the bike anyway, it kind of makes sense just to quickly tack it on, and it adds that bit of extra training in. So that's the plan for like the next 4 weeks. We'll see how that goes. Saturday morning, 5:45, getting my long run in today, doing it or starting like nice and early so I can get back for rugby with Atticus. So the plan is I'm gonna go to the quay where it's like nice and flat again, try and do around 20k, and I'm gonna do 10k sort of like before our run club, then do run club, which should be about 5k, and then do another whatever I've got left. I mean, the program is meant to be 25k today, so I suddenly thought that I have the marathon that I signed up to this week, like in like 2 or 3 weeks time. Like there's not many weekends between now and then. I'm only up at 17k. I think this was meant to be like 20k this run, but because I've got that coming up, yeah, I might try 25k. Being like early this morning, I haven't actually eaten anything, but I had like a decent amount of muesli cereal last night, so hopefully I have some glycogen stores, some carb stores, and I've got 4 gels with me. 2 of them are caffeine, and then I've also got a carb mix. I'll take 1 gel out for the first 10k. I'll have gel like 30 minutes in at 5k, and then when I get back to the car I'll drink the carb mix, and then I'll take another gel out with me, and then after the second 5k I'll have another gel probably. just over 5k in, I forgot my gel. Like, I forgot to bring the gel with me, which isn't a good start. Maybe puts me like a little bit behind on the carbs and stuff. But I've been running super easy, super chilled. Heart rate's been nice and low. Probably averaging like 140 beats, which is really quite low. I remember a time where I was doing 6-minute kilometers and my heart rate was like 160 beats almost. So we're going like 30 seconds per kilometer quicker with like 15 to 20 beats lower on the heart rate. So the aerobic capacity is increased. The endurance training is definitely paying off. So it's Sunday morning. Yesterday I finished the run up. It was 25k, which is really good. That's kind of the longest run that I've done in a little while, and it felt pretty good. I'll put the splits on the screen, but the first bit before the run club I probably averaged at like 5:30 pace. Then run club was like 6 to 6:30 pace, and then the last, I don't know, maybe 10, 11k, 13k after that I slowly clawed back some time, so I ended up at 5:33 pace for the 25k, which was good. And if you look at it, it almost looks like a negative split from start to finish over 25k, which is really nice. Heart rate was in like a really steady place, which was good. And for a lot of it I was kind of feeling like, yeah, this feels the right speed to go at, because I feel like I could recover from it. But come the end of it, it did add up to a lot, and my legs were sore, and they were sore yesterday. And then I quickly had to rush, well, I ran to Rugby Tops to watch Atticus play rugby, and then quickly back home, change, and out to Adrenaline Quarry, which is like a big inflatable obstacle course or course in a quarry in the water, and that was like 45 minutes. So yesterday afternoon I was absolutely wiped out, super tired, eating loads of food, and then trying to recover for today. The way things have worked out today, it's a little bit messy again. Atticus got football at 10 in the morning, and we ended up going to bed quite late, so I didn't make it up in time to get like a 4-hour ride before that. So I've just jumped on Zwift and pretty much finished up in the workout folder on endurance section. I've done the aerobic builds, which has been good. And the nice thing about that is I felt quite stiff and sore this morning, and I managed to stick to all of the intervals and all the paces, which feels quite good because I've just done the FTP test. I'm not particularly fresh, so I feel happy that I've managed to stick to all of them. The only thing is, it's like only an hour and a half, and really I need to get in 4 hours of riding today. So I'm going to have to do another ride later, which I don't know how that's going to work, so it feels like I should be recovering later on for the rest of the week and jumping back on the bike after this one this morning, which has been quite tough for an hour and a half. It's going to feel pretty nasty. And then to add to that, I'm playing paddle this afternoon, so God knows how it all fits in and how I can recover ready for the week. But yeah, all in all, good week.